I love it. Welcome back. Are You in the Book podcast? My name is Eric Wilbenaw, the president of the Baseball Bluebook, and today we have a special guest from my old neck of the woods up in northern Iowa. We have, I'm sorry, I just went blank. Coach Josh Merrill. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Hey, it's a Monday morning. What do you expect? It's been a great Mother's Day weekend, a lot of things going on, and we're right back at it, talking with coaches across the country. And I want to make sure that everybody subscribes to the channel. We are on YouTube. We're also on all the audio podcasts. And then also make sure that you are downloading the Baseball Bluebook app to find all the connections that you are looking for in baseball. But again, as we do every time on the podcast, we get to hear the journey of the coaches. So, Coach, why don't you go ahead and do a quick introduction again and give us a little background of who you are and how you got to where you are?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was a guy. Wichita, Kansas is home for me, and baseball at Trinity Academy, where I went, was a pretty big deal. I was blessed to have gotten on the radar of Neosho County Community College. Steve Murray sounds like he was on this podcast as well, and that guy changed my life with, challenged me to be a better baseball player, but also a better man. So I pitched there. I actually went as a two-way. And if you know the Chicago Cubs, David Bodie came in at semester, and that was a quick turn of, you're not going to play shortstop anymore. You're going to just pitch. So pitched there, had a pretty good career there. We actually went back-to-back junior college World Series appearances when I was there, finished fifth in the country both years. And then I went on and played at the University of Arkansas Little Rock. So I kind of had a taste of that Division I level for a year, had some injuries. And so I finished up at a Division II in Tennessee called King University. And what's crazy is I was a hard throwing pitcher, thought I was going to get drafted every year like every other, guy in the world of baseball. And the Lord had a different plan for me. Said, hey, that you're not gonna play. So I was a little bit bitter with baseball. Actually went and got into nursing. Worked in a hospital for a little bit. But what's funny is one phone call from a former player, and I was back into coaching, back into baseball. And when I got into that, it was the best thing ever. Coached in the high school level for a couple seasons, and then jumped back, and thank goodness for Coach Murray again. He allowed me to come on his staff, and I actually worked with the hitters, which is funny because I hadn't hit since they told me I couldn't hit at Neosho County. And that kind of changed my whole trajectory of my career. I started working with position players and with hitters. I got the chance to go to the University of Southern Indiana, which was a powerhouse Division II, as their recruiting coordinator, and kind of helped them with a little bit of their Division I transition. And then I got the Northern Iowa Area Community College head coaching job, and that's where I am now. So kind of a crazy journey with a lot of ups and downs and turns. If you ask my wife, she's still questioning why I left nursing, because, working 3 days a week and making good money to working 7 days a week and making not so good money. But at the same time, baseball is a huge part of my life and my family's life. And, there's a lot of really awesome people that I got a chance to connect with and learn from, which is why I'm where I am today.
The siren song of baseball. It always draws you back.
Oh yeah.
It's one of those things, the dangerous waters of baseball, but you can't turn it down. So I appreciate you sharing kind of that backstory. Yeah. Coach Murray, a great guy. And talking to anybody that knows him, they kind of repeat the whole thing, the same story over and over and over, and great baseball going College World Series, but then also what he does for their life. And I know you're a family guy. You mentioned your wife. North Iowa is a bit of time to get used to. You're now in your second season. Let's talk about kind of what the philosophies and the things that you're bringing to the program. Being the head coach, being under a number of really great mentors in your life, from player as well as coaching. What are some of the philosophies that you brought to North Iowa, and what are your expectations?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, everyone talks about wins and losses and X's and O's, but for me, I am a family guy. I'm a relational guy, so we really bring to the table that North Iowa area community college baseball is not just, hey, let's win at all costs or anything like that. It's a lot of relationships, and it's a lot of allowing players to really know who they are in their identity outside of baseball. We want to teach guys to be really good human beings, really good students, and on top of that, really good baseball players as well. So it's that trifecta of being an All-American boy. On the baseball side of things, our philosophy is development. We really want guys to get better. Junior college baseball needs to be a platform of getting better every single day. And so, as a coaching staff, we really try to meet guys halfway with individualized development. We are lucky enough to have had the resources to get a TrackMan and to do things like that. So we're giving guys data and allowing them to learn who they are as baseball players so they can be the best version of themselves. Because at the end of the day, if they have a really good career here for 2 years and it goes nowhere else, we're going to be a dead end for people's careers, and we're not going to be a place that people want to go to. So we're trying to get them to where they need to be for the baseball side of things, but as well, we're trying to get them to be where they need to be in life as well. And that's being excellent in everything that they do. That's being responsible. That's being accountable. That's learning how to compete. And that's serving others. So those are kind of our core values here and what we really talk about, not just, every once in a while, but on a daily basis.
That's great. You played you played community college, played D1, you played D2. You've kind of across the board. Give us an example to the parents and players that are listening out there. And we've got so many people that listen that are really trying to learn this for the first time. They're getting involved in this, right? They've done the travel ball, they've done all these things. And now they're starting to figure out what they're going to do next. What are some of the real differences from your perspective that from those levels of baseball play?
Yeah, no, I think, the NCAA level, the difference between that and junior college is the time that you can really get invested into. That's not saying that there's really good coaches that don't invest time, but, the NCAA level has restrictions on the time you can be with the coaching staff. And when you're off season, you have 8 hours a week, and that's including the weight room. When you're in team practice, you get 15 hours a week. You start doing the math, and, coaches there are really good coaches, but they're kind of having to punch the clock a little bit because of rules and regulations. I'm not saying that junior college baseball is a baseball academy where we don't care about anything else, but we get more time. We are allowed to practice without restrictions. That doesn't mean that we practice for 8 hours a day. It means we're not sitting there saying, okay, we have to stop. We can't do it anymore because the NCAA's or this governing body is not allowing us to. So you're going to get more time. You're going to get more one-on-one time with the coaching staff. For us, what we do is we kind of take what the NCAA level does. We've incorporated that a little bit with individual work. So we do small group training. So that way there's groups of 4 to 6 guys with our coaching staff. And that allows our guys to get one-on-one time with the coaching staff. So we're not just sitting there saying, hey, we're here to develop you individually, but do it on your own time. You're getting the eyes and the ears and the attention of the coaching staff every single day. So I think that's the big difference is the time aspect. I mean, obviously, your grown men, 18-year-old guy that's throwing 96 miles an hour, like he probably doesn't need as much time with development as, that 18-year-old kid that's still growing, that's 86 miles an hour. There's a reason why we get more time and we get more one-on-one time with these guys is these guys need more attention. But that is the difference. I think if you're looking for a program, or looking for a way where you can get better, the junior college level has that. I think junior college baseball has had the schema a little bit of bad students, bad drug testers, bad people. And that couldn't be further from the truth here at North Iowa or other junior colleges around the country.
It's probably the Last Chance U shows that typically put a bad.
I'm sure that doesn't help, but yeah, I mean, there's, it's funny. Like we finished with a 3.5 GPA this fall. That doesn't happen because we recruited kids that were going to Harvard and got them here to come to North Iowa. There's really good students that come here that are trying to attack their goals academically as well as their goals athletically.
Well, there's so many good opportunities, and the play is amazing. I always tell people before you make any decision, go watch each level of baseball, and it's pretty amazing what you can see at the junior college level. The difference between that and D1. there is difference. Obviously, we're not kidding each other, but the quality of play, it's still the top percentage of the players that are coming out of high school and they're playing at the collegiate level, wherever that is. I also love what you're talking about, the more time. If you could expand just a bit about that for people that really don't understand that, because there's 2 seasons, right? You got the fall, you got the spring. Talk about really what separates the community college and why you should certainly look at community college in general, but also specifically North Iowa.
Yeah. So I mean, college baseball right now, it's a 10-month deal. Just about every level, junior college, Division I, Division II, Division III, they're going to get a fall season. You're going to get the chance to really get poured into. I think the other separator that really can affect that is the Division I, Division II level. They get 2 outside competition dates. So you have a chance. Usually it's a junior college. You go play a marathon of a game for 18 innings. At the junior college level, we can play 14 dates, which means, what does that mean? That means we could play a doubleheader. We could play multiple games. That allows our guys to, one, get the chance. The difference between high school and college is not, it's still 90 foot bases. It's still 60 foot, 6 inches. What is it? It's the speed of the game. Runners run faster. Pitchers throw harder. Position players cover more ground. Being able to play more games in the fall is going to allow those freshmen who are coming in to be able to get to the speed of the game. I tell recruits all the time, it's not the tools or anything like that that's going to stop you from getting on the field. It's how quick are you going to adjust to the college game, because it's different. So junior college allows you to do that. Obviously, junior college allows you to spend more time with development and allow you to really get poured into. So in the wintertime, when those programs go back to the 8 hours a week, we're still practicing 2 hours a day, making sure that we're getting what we need to get to. So I just think that those players who are 100% ready for the Division I level, they're not going to really see a difference. It's going to be the kids that need that extra time, that need that development, that need that structure to be able to get them to the next level. And that's the whole goal for us, is to take high school kids that maybe weren't ready. Maybe they had a Division I or a Division II tell them they weren't strong enough, or they weren't fast enough, or they weren't throwing hard enough. And we give them that structure and that time and that knowledge. Next thing you know, that kid is ready 2 years from now, and he's tearing it up at the 4-year level. That's what we do, and that's why we do it.
That's great. Very personal. Let's talk specific with you. The philosophies that you've brought. We've talked about kind of in general North Iowa community colleges in general. What about you, from your perspective? What are you bringing to the table, and what differentiates you from a head coach than maybe even some of the coaches that you've had that are phenomenal coaches?
Yeah, I think before I say anything, there's a lot of really good coaches that do a lot of really good things. So this is not my way of saying, look at me, but I am a very high energy guy. People always ask, like, hey, what's your weakness? I used to hate that answer. This is going to sound cliche and weird. My weakness is I don't ever stop. That hurts sometimes at home more than anything, when my wife and kids are like, hey, let's watch a movie, and I'm recruiting or I'm doing something like that. But I'm always thinking about how to get guys better, how to make our program better, how to continue to grow as not only a coach, but as a human being. So I bring a high energy. I want guys to know that I'm there for them, that I care for them, that I want them to succeed. That's a huge thing for me. I'm a guy that, philosophy is, I'm going to be exactly what I'm asking our guys to be. I'm going to be responsible. I'm going to be accountable. I'm going to compete. I'm going to try to be excellent in everything that I do, and I'm going to serve others. I think the traits of a good leader and a good head coach are not, you don't need to be this, that, or the other. You need to be what you're asking your guys to be, and you need to lead by example. And so that's what I try to do. I'm a very much hands-on head coach. I'm not a guy that stands around in the shadow and lets other people do it. I want to be in the mix. I want to be helping guys. I want to be on the field. I don't throw BP well because of some of my arm issues, but I will throw until my arm falls off. I will hit fungos. Those types of things. I want to be a servant leader, and I want to allow our players and my assistant coaches to know that I'm not going to ask them to do something that I'm not going to do myself.
That's great. Now, there are a lot of changes that are happening in college baseball from the NIL to the transfer portal. Being a hands-on coach, during, with the X's and O's and being part of this, how are you balancing some of the things that are now becoming more of a CEO type position, right? You're managing careers, you're managing finances, you're managing, this transition from players coming in and going out. Talk a bit about kind of the changes and what you're seeing. Certainly being a couple of years into this, you're seeing the massive changes, and how are you adapting, and what do you do to kind of really embrace this?
Yeah, no, I think the transfer portal has changed a lot, and it's changed a lot for good. And there's some negatives with it as well. For us, I am a huge. I want to find the high school kids that are slipping through the cracks. The transfer portal. If you look at how it is, it's transfer portal, junior college, high school baseball. That's the order that 4 years recruit from, and that's frustrating for me as a junior college coach because we have some really good players that are still uncommitted right now. They're going to find an awesome home, but when I first got into coaching before the portal, it was, hey, we have to have your shortstop. He's a stud. Now it's, hey, we're going to wait to see what comes out of the portal.
Right.
I get it. That's the world we live in, but the high school kids are getting the really short end of this stick. So, for me, it's looking through the weeds and finding those kids that are really talented, that are getting kind of the cold shoulder. So from the recruiting side of things, we've gotten some kids that we shouldn't have gotten. Hey, this kid in 10 years from ago, he's already at a Division I, and he's sitting there uncommitted in June, July. The negative side is, like I said, we have a pitchers and shortstops and outfielders that are still uncommitted right now that are in a little bit of scramble mode, that are kind of waiting till the transfer portal comes out and says, hey, what can we get from that? Then we're going to go find this other guy. In terms of what a head coach's hat is, yeah, you nailed it on the head. It's, we're psychologists, we're hitting coaches, we're infield coaches, we're financial managers, we're player agents in a sense.
Yeah.
Junior college head coaches wear a lot of hats. That's kind of why I like it, though. I get to do a lot of things independently. I get to manage my budget. I get to bring in players, and I get to promote players to another program. That's the fun thing of junior college baseball, but you're on the phone a lot. You are, my cell phone never stops ringing, or I'm never not on it, and that's part of it. But that's also a part of why you do what you do. If I didn't like what I'm doing, I'd go coach. At the high school level, I didn't have to worry about recruiting, and I just had to worry about promoting. I really like the idea of dealing with both sides, getting that high school kid, telling them what we want them to do and how we want them to do it, and then getting to sell them to a 4-year school to find their career. And, that's the fun part for me. I get to watch college baseball, and former players are playing right now at the Division I, Division II level, and getting a chance to just continue to watch their careers and watch their journey is the most rewarding thing for me.
Yeah, it's exciting. There's so many great things that come out of baseball. One of the things we have a radio show that we do, also a podcast called Chasing Omaha, and it talks about all the different levels. And we talk about just kind of sitting back and getting to watch college baseball. It's so good. And that's kind of a transition into the level of talent today, as just continues to get better and better. As a coach, as that talent continues to get, I always say it's bigger, faster, stronger, right? I mean, I could not compete with the kids today. And you're much younger than me, and I'm sure you'll say the same thing. You're like, these guys can just, what they can do compared to what we were able to do before. What are some of the struggles and challenges with that? With the level going up, I've heard lots of other things that are the challenges, but I want to hear it from you. What are some of the challenges of having such, the players are at such a different level than they've been in the past?
Oh yeah, no, I have 2 boys, and I'm like telling them, like, hey man, if you want to, they're 8 and they're 6, so they have a ways to go. But I'm like, man, like, watching these 15, 16, 17-year-old kids throwing 95 plus right now, like, that was the peak of my college career. I hit 95, and it was not close to the zone. I'll tell you that right now. I couldn't compete in this setting. So I think it's a very awesome thing that we have, where you're going to a game and you're like, wow, this guy's uncommitted, and he's 88 is the old 80 now, it seems like,
Right.
almost, and you're sitting there saying, man, this kid's 88 and he's uncommitted, right? So we're getting some really good players that that kind of are in the thick of feeling like they are behind, and they just need more time. But it also is, interesting too, because you look at junior college baseball, you didn't see so many 95 plus dudes years ago. Now it's like, I feel like every staff has one, and the really good staffs have 10. You're sitting there saying, holy cow, hitters, we got to get better too. So, I think it changes the way the game has moved along. It's changed how we develop. Very, very, very rarely are we doing, live arm BP to our guys. We're doing machines. Why? Because I can't simulate 96 with arm side run or 96 with carry at the top of the zone.
Right.
That machine has to do it. So I think the level of players that are coming out today have not only changed how recruiting and landscaping is going, but it's changed how development's going too. Which is fun. I think adapt or die is kind of the thing that I've heard since I've started playing, right? Like, you can't just show up and think that you're good enough. You have to work harder than what's going on. Same thing here. When you see these power arms, or you see these dudes hitting the ball 106 miles an hour off the bat, how do we combat that? What do we have to do? We can't just show up and do the same thing, because if not, we're gonna get beat pretty handedly, right? So I think it's a fun time to be a coach with the amount of talent and with the amount of training. It used to be kids would come and say, yeah, my high school didn't really know how to help me. And you're having to teach these kids a whole bunch of different things. Now with training and with all these things, a lot of these kids come in and know exactly what they need to do. And you're just kind of there making sure that you don't screw them up. As weird as that sounds.
Yeah.
I would say the difference that's really changed is some of the baseball IQ, things that you didn't think you had to teach, you're having to teach now. And that's part of the facilities, and really awesome. Kids are learning how to throw harder and learn how to hit harder and stuff like that. But, this year we early on, we talked about the hit and run, and a kid was like, is that when you're like a softball slap hit? And I said, no, that's not what that is. Like, the runner's going and you're hitting it, you're going to protect them. And they're like, oh, we didn't know that. Stuff like that has kind of gone by the wayside, but that's where us as coaches need to understand our guys equally as physically talented as they are mentally talented. Do they understand the game like they need to understand the game?
Boy, that's so true. That's and I think the only way to address that is, and I don't think you can. I mean, everything is quick, quick clips on YouTube, right? I can go and watch the highlight games of this last weekend, top divisions, Tennessee's. I think Tennessee Vanderbilt played this last weekend. Yep. I'm going to watch a 10-minute YouTube video and catch the whole series, right? How do you learn baseball IQ by just watching the highlights? That it's hard, right?
It's really hard.
You and I would sit down and watch a whole game, and we learn the game by watching it.
Right. Yeah. I think that's where it kind of goes is, everyone's excited about the big things, in our program, we talk about the small things a lot. No one, there's a small amount of people that like the bunt, right? Like, we're going to bunt. If we get a runner on second base, no outs, we're probably bunting, because the percentages say, hey, all we have to do is put a ball in play and we're going to score a run. Right. Kids don't get excited about bunting. Early on in the year, what we did to combat that was, man, hey, when you get a bunt down, you need to come high five every single person in this dugout. And I was the first one there, enthusiastic, saying, really good job. That's something that kids have to buy into, not by when they come in, but through the course of your philosophy and your program, because it is a lost art. Same thing with, hey, moving a runner to second base, or from second base to third on a ground ball to second base. Kids come in saying, oh, I'm mad because I'm out. And I'm saying, hey, really good job, man. Like, you got him over. Next guy's going to score him. Like, that's an assist almost in basketball. Yep. Those types of things are frustrating at first, but then when guys get it and the light bulb clicks and it's like, hey, you don't have to be the guy to hit the home run. We have to be the offense that scores. A run scored, it can happen in multiple ways. As long as we score, it doesn't matter how it happens. So that is the world we live in a little bit right now is, everyone's excited about the big things, the big strikeout, the big home run, the big, bases clearing double, all of those. The highlight doesn't show that maybe the guy that got on second base got on there with a bunt and a stolen base. So that's all part of things of getting the guys for 10 months and teaching them what you want. I teach bunting because I think it works. Other programs don't. That's part of finding the philosophy and finding what works for you as a player and also as a coach. Finding the right kids that are going to come in and want to jump into that philosophy.
I think that's great. I appreciate you sharing that. There's so many things, and it's changing. Finding the right fit is something that so many good coaches talk about. And North Iowa, the ability to develop community colleges. It's certainly in general, community colleges have benefited from a lot of the changes. You as an individual coach, it's probably a little bit more difficult because there is more competition, right? People are now not looking at community college the same as they were just a few years ago. You talked about a couple of players kind of still kind of looking for that next transition. Are you finding that you're also a buyer, bringing some players in that may have not found that right fit at a D1, D2 program and want to come down for a little bit more development? Are you seeing that? Or do you see that as an opportunity for you if you're not? Talk a bit about that transfer portal and how you guys, specifically North Iowa, is leveraging this and taking advantage of some of the changes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think in the world we live in, if you're not doing it, you're behind. So we definitely are looking. I think it has to be the right fit. For us, we talk about really good people, really good human beings. There's been some instances where we've had a kid who, hey, I failed out of my Division I school, and that's not really the right fit for me. Like I'm
Right.
trying to win a national championship just as much as I'm trying to lead the nation in GPA. Now, obviously, we're going to help guys in any way, and that's creating resources. So we're not just saying, oh, you're a bad student, we're not going to take you. But at the same time, we really ask questions of why are you leaving?
Yeah.
Is it because you didn't play, or is it because you got in trouble in the community? I want to go a step further. I've said it from day one. I don't like recruiting problems. I when my phone rings, I want it to be good news, not bad news. And if there's some people don't care. Some people are like, hey, this guy throws 96. I don't care that he's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
I do. I really want really good kids in the community. If I'm watching a kid throw 96 one day a week and I have to deal with his problems for 6 days a week, I think I'm going to choose to not deal with the problems for 6 days a week. So, for me, it's finding the right kid in the portal of, hey, you went to the wrong school. You realize they didn't develop you. You went to the wrong school. They brought in 10 guys in front of you.
Right.
Why don't we can be a really good fit? It's got to be a win-win for both sides. And so, yes, we're doing that, but it's not just cold calling all the kids in the portal. It's really kind of going in and identifying who they were, what they're looking for, and seeing if we can be an advocate for them just as much as they can help us on the field and in the classroom.
That's awesome. Recruiting season, where do you guys go? Are you said high school showcases, transfer portal? Where do you guys, where could we find you most of the time during the recruiting season?
Yeah. So for us, we're pretty blessed. Our location, because we're in Iowa, but we're real close to Minnesota. Our school does what's called a reciprocity scholarship. In-state tuition for us can include any state that touches the state of Iowa, except for South Dakota. I don't know why, but South Dakota is not included in that. But Minnesota, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Illinois, Missouri are all in-state tuition for us. So we go all over the place. Our roster has been primarily Minnesota. That was kind of the former coach's hub, and it's still a hub for us. But Illinois has become a really big hotbed for us, especially around the Chicago area. Some of those kids are kind of getting the cold shoulder from some schools around them, and it's a 5-hour drive, but it's a really good fit for some of them. We're going to be wherever. So this is a weird summer for me. I'm actually going to be coaching in the Prospect League. It was a really good setup and a really good opportunity that I couldn't pass up. So I will actually not be out and about recruiting this summer, but my assistants will be. So Iowa baseball is played in the summer, so we're going to spend a lot of time really making sure that we hammer the state of Iowa high school baseball. But there's some tournaments all throughout in the summer. in our surrounding area that we're going to be at as well. So, for me, I don't have we don't recruit that kid because he's too far away. If it's the right fit and it's a kid that's going to help us, I'll recruit a kid from all 50 states if they're going to come in and they're going to help us and they're going to be an advocate for our program. But I think our big hub is kind of those surrounding states that I mentioned. Kansas, I have a little bit of ties in Kansas still, so we kind of try to stay in there. But ultimately, it's finding really good people, really good students, and baseball players that want to be the best version of themselves.
That's awesome. What team are you coaching Prospect League?
I'm the field manager for the Johnstown Mill Rats.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's great. Prospect League, boy, that's a big. And we could talk a whole nother episode on just the resurgence of professional leagues like the Prospect League, and I think with all the changes that are happening, that's one of the things that I really like. There's such good baseball at those levels, and it kind of is filling in the gaps of the reduction of the minor league teams, and I think that it's just an interesting dynamic, and maybe we'll schedule another call just to talk about the Prospect League maybe later in the summer, because sure. I'm very interested in having a conversation about that as well. Coach, I appreciate the opportunity to have you on. Again, Coach Merrill with the North Iowa Area Community College up in, I believe it's Mason City, Iowa.
Yep.
And find his information. I know he's on X. All of his information's on the Baseball Bluebook app in the directory, so you can find him there. Coach, thank you very much for having or joining me today on the Are You in the Book podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
I appreciate it.